different from one person to another. Plus, I'll tell you something which a lot of people don't consider as well. Sometimes we exist in this life, there's a lot of distractions around us. And sometimes difficulties come in our life to remind us of why we're here as well. Why do we exist? But there's something that is very important to understand, that we don't just exist in this life, there's an afterlife. I could lose my family members, but they're not gone forever.
That's what my husband said.
Yeah. So it's only if I live an atheistic worldview, then do I believe that we turn into dust, and then that this is the final separation between me and them. Not only is it cruel, but it makes no sense, because I didn't create myself. Your parents did not create you, because if they give you life, they're not going to cry when you die, right? Because they didn't give you life to begin with. They just gave you that vessel, the body, and God has given you that soul, right? The consciousness that you and me possess. So Allah has created us, and He put us in this life as a test. And everyone, when does your test end? When you take the paper, right? That paper is your life. Whenever it's taken, only God knows when it's taken. And that's why when we live in this life, like for example, I'll ask you, how long did your parents live in this life?
My mom was 62 and my dad was 69.
62 and 69. So Allah has given a chance for your parents, and He's given me a chance, and He's given a chance for everyone for this lifetime that they live. Even if I die today or tomorrow, I believe I've had my chance to research Islam, to look for the truth, and to pass that test by doing the best I can in this life. So true success is succeeding the test by dying upon the correct understanding and doing as much good as you can in this life. You exist here for a reason, right? So yes, Allah in the Quran, this is the thing. Someone comes and tells me there's suffering in this life. I say Allah in the Quran has promised that there will be suffering. Allah tells us in the Quran, we will test you with hunger, loss of life, loss of wealth, with calamities. Allah promises us in the Quran that this will happen to us. We'll lose our children, we'll lose money, we'll lose everything. And there are people who live an easier life than others. There are people who live a more difficult life, because everyone has a different test and everyone has a different capacity. You have a certain capacity, I have a certain capacity. But Allah promises in the Quran that He's not going to overburden you more than you can handle. So sometimes when people come to me about someone that they lost, I tell them, did you then, in a way, in your mind, subconsciously think this person is going to live forever? But nobody lives forever. No, I don't live forever. Nobody will live forever. We're all going to leave one day. But the question is, when are we going to leave and how are we going to leave? Because what matters is the afterlife that is going to come, not this life that we live. This is the worldview that we operate under as Muslims. And that's why, if I lose someone, Allah has promised me in the Quran. He said that Allah, if you die, if you're righteous and your progeny is righteous and they live a good life, Allah will unite you with them. It's not like this is the end of everything, right? We don't look at life like this. That's why I can lose something in this life. But I know I'll be rewarded for it in the afterlife. I know if I leave certain desires in this life, if I leave certain things that are there in front of me, Allah is going to replace me better in the afterlife, right? So it's all understand your worldview, right? How you're living your life is going to reflect all of these things. So it's going to give you comfort in your life. If you have God as your foundation, as your basis, He'll give you comfort in your life. But there is nothing more depressing. I'll tell you the truth. There is nothing more depressing than an atheistic worldview. There are people who move away from God because they think that is a better position. But then when they realize, okay, there's no good and bad without God at all. Because good and bad is coming from God, from religion, from scripture, from what God teaches you, what is correct, what is not correct. Even in this country, today they don't follow religion. But if you go, you look at the laws, it's based on 10 commandments. It has to be based on something which is based on religion. Otherwise, it's just my opinion. Today, in the Western world, because of secularism, it's a life of opinion. It's how I feel and what I think is what determines what is right and wrong. This is how people live their life today, right? So when you live as an atheist, there is no right and wrong, really. That's what Stalin, you know what Stalin was, right? That's what Stalin figured out. He read Darwin's book. He said we're just, evolved beings, and we're just matters. I'm going to rearrange matter, this matter from here to there. That's it. So he thinks that this is how he lived his life, and that's what he wrote. So an atheistic worldview offers you nothing by depression, no meaning, no answer, no explanation or answers for why you exist, let alone what's going to happen to you when you die. So I can be angry at God for something that happened, but the question is, did God promise me other than what happened to me? Did God promise me eternality with my family members or an easy life? Then does it make sense that I'm angry when God promised me the opposite? That will happen. So what God told me is what happened. But I'm still angry because I was more attached sometimes to people or things than I am attached to God, the one who created me and created those people, and who is able to unite me with them, and who's able to give them life, and who's the one who's given me life to begin with. So I think the best solution is for me to take that step to follow and practice and bring God into my life, and then understand that this is how I'm going to be united with them in the afterlife. Because any day I'm not going to be here. Like I said, I'm here today, talking to you. Tomorrow you could hear the news I'm passed away, right? And you don't realize. Like I know someone who one day they just went to the hospital, just by it was not planned, and then they were told they have this cyst in their stomach that is huge and they could die any day if it opens, right? Like out of nowhere, you could one day realize that you have something that you're going to die the next day. You don't know what's going on, right? So we live a life. We need to understand this is always a possibility. Like whether it's a medical thing, whether it's an accident, whether it's whatever, anyone can pass away, anyone can die. And that's why this is what makes it very important that we take our decisions about believing in God and doing